Welcome to Experts Explain Trauma. Today we've got Dr. Nay joining us to answer a common question that survivors ask themselves, as well as giving us tips to help us on our healing journey. Dr. Nay, thank you for being here today. Here's our question. Oh, and this one actually, when I wrote it down, I went, ooh, this one's actually mine. Why did I fight so hard to keep a toxic relationship alive?
Well, yeah, probably, listen, why do we keep toxic relationships alive? First of all, we love the people. I mean, it's that simple. We love them. We believe them when they tell us that they love us. And if you're a loving, trusting person who's a pro-social individual that wants a relationship to work, and if you believe that you can make things work, right, then at times we will fight because love is blind.
I used to believe, oh, but I see the potential.
Yes, that's right. Potential. And and again, listen, when you're dealing with a con artist and you're dealing with someone that wants to manipulate you into keeping on loving them, unless you're very educated about all this, and certainly I was not educated about this 25 years ago when I was in my trauma bond. I didn't know. I believed the myth of romantic love that someday my prince was going to come, and here he was. How lucky was I? He was better than I could have imagined. And I thought I'd be safe and protected forever. But, there's also cultural things that we've been fed about love. That love should mean you have to sacrifice yourself, right? That all those codependency songs from the 80s and 90s.
Oh, yeah. So true.
So it's like we're wired for love. We've been fed messages around love. And then, we have cognitive dissonance. We're living with a con artist. Maybe we have kids. Maybe we're
Oh,
financially
yeah.
independent.
I had one more thing that you haven't mentioned, and I was a Christian. And so
Oh,
I believed I didn't have reason to divorce him. I didn't have reason to leave him. As far
well,
as I could see, he wasn't cheating on me, and that was the only reason why I would be able
yeah,
to
yeah,
divorce him.
sure. Spirit, yeah, religion plays a huge part too. Yeah.
And I really went into it with, look, I didn't marry him to turn around and get a divorce. Like, I married him to make a life with him. And we did have a son. But I'll tell you, even once I left, it took me a few years to work through that whole religious.
Oh, guilt and shame.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That was, yeah, I did a lot of deconstructing with that one and reconstructing with that one. And I know there's a lot of people that deal with it. I lost friends because I chose to divorce him, even
Yeah.
though this crazy stuff was going on and they had a good idea of what was going on. They felt I still needed to stay married to him.
Yeah.
So I know there's that. And there's the cultural thing that you were mentioning as well.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a stigma, right, with getting divorced. There's a sense of failure, even though we know it's not. So there's a lot of reasons why people fight, and often they're very personal. But that's why I wrote my book, Run Like Hell, because I really wanted to destigmatize the victim's perspective. Sick of everybody being like, why did she stay? What's wrong with her? And so that's why I did it. One of the reasons was to really destigmatize what the victim endures and what she's thinking and what she's tolerating.
And that's the part that's so frustrating is people who haven't been in a trauma bond or haven't dealt with this have no idea. And they do say that, like, I don't understand why don't you just leave him? If only it were that easy.
I know. If only I would have left a long time ago, right?
Right. Yeah, we wouldn't be having this conversation per se, but
That's
and then one of the things that you also mentioned in one of the past questions was there's an addiction to this
yes.
person as well.
Total. There's a total physiological addiction. So when you see all the pieces at play, it's very complex.
It is. It's very, and unfortunately, it makes sense.
Yeah,
And
yeah. And listen, being in a trauma bond, you could get very depressed,
oh
right?
yeah.
It could make you really lack energy and feel hopeless and just give up.
Hmm.
I've spoken to many women like that through social media.
Yeah. I just remember just going, okay, I guess this is my life.
Right. Exactly. So it's very, very complicated. But that's why we're
Yeah.
conversation.
That's why we're having this conversation. That's why we're putting it out there, because there is not enough information out there about trauma bonds and the effects of it. And it's really important that people who are in trauma bond learn about it, but also people who aren't. I was talking to my husband about this morning because he had a normal life. He didn't have the stuff that I had. And so I call him my normal, but I told him, I said, it's just so common for people to not understand this. It's hard enough for us who have gone through this stuff to understand it, but you who haven't experienced it, who haven't felt it, it's really hard for you to understand. And, and he asked me a lot of questions, but it's real easy to dismiss the little things that you and I'll see like, oh, that makes sense why they're doing that. And to the people who haven't dealt with it go, well, that's crazy. That's stupid. No, it's not.
No, it's not. It's not. No, we hear you.
Yeah, we hear you. And that's why we want to get this message out. And so what would you recommend to someone who's feeling like that, who's like, why do I keep hanging on to this relationship? Look, it's a mess.
Yeah, what I would do, first of all, is get really educated. Like social media now has so many things, this conversation that we're having, my book.
I was going to say, read Dr. Nay's book.
On like how there's so many ways to get educated, and then look for the helpers.
Yeah.
There are helpers out there. Go find the helpers and just put one foot in front of the other and know that you're not crazy, and know that abuse is always the fault of the abuser.
Absolutely, 100%. Well, thank you, Dr. Nay.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
If this question resonated with you, let us know in the comments. And if you have a question that you'd like answered, you can email me at asklisatickle@gmail.com. Be sure to follow so that you can get more insightful information about trauma healing.